I don't ever want to do drugs again just so I don't got to listen to this fucking talk again.
When did you get your first guitar?
I think I was 14. My dad went to a flea market and picked up a classical guitar that had 4 strings instead of 6. Like 2 of them were busted off. All black, rusted. And he just left it there, and I didn't pick it up for a while. I kind of noodled around with it at first, and then again, that intersection of leaving jiu-jitsu, weed, Black Sabbath, you know, all intersected, and I started picking up the guitar. My friend had a bass, and I was always, you know, we'd smoke weed and listen to Sabbath, and I was always super fascinated by the sound that the bass made, and then so I just started messing around trying to do that same thing at my house, and I ended up being able to figure out a couple songs.
What was the first riff?
So the first 2 songs that I figured out were, and the first one I figured out I didn't even necessarily like. I just kind of stumbled on it because I wasn't that big of a Zeppelin fan at the time. Mm-hmm. But I figured out how to play the Lemon song by Zeppelin, which is the down, 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 down. So then I figured out that, and then right after that I figured out Sweet Leaf by Black Sabbath, and that was the song that I figured out how to do a power chord. So up until then I was just doing single notes, and then I figured out, my friend's like, no, if you want to make it sound heavy, you do this. And I was like, holy shit, down, out, do.
So Black Sabbath did have a bigger influence on you than AC/DC had?
Yeah, in the long run, for sure.
What makes this band, it's an obvious question, but what makes this band for you so good, Black Sabbath?
I mean, again, it was just that moment in my life where, you know, I got into drinking, I got into weed, I got into girls, and then Sabbath was there to, you know, take me down the, you know, like I think the second time that I smoked weed, my friend played Paranoid by Black Sabbath, and I heard it, and I was just listening to the lyrics, and I was super fucking high, and I was just like, it got to the one lyric where it's like, make a joke and I will cry and you will laugh and I will sigh, happiness I cannot feel and love to me is so unreal. I was like, who is this band? This is fucking amazing. I was like, I've never heard lyrics like this before. Like, I just freaked. And then the next song they played was Iron Man, and I fucking got scared shitless. I was like, I'm sitting there looking at the cover, it's like fucking big cross. I'm like, I'm stoned out of my mind. I'm gonna go to hell. I don't want to listen to this anymore. So kind of scared me. There was like a fear thing there, you know, being all high and not understanding what I was listening to. So then a couple days, so I left, and a couple days later I came back and we got high again, and I was like, dude, put on that Black Sabbath record again. We sat there and listened to the whole thing, and I was like, what is this music? I'd never heard anything so fucking terrifying or horrifying or heavy or slow, or, you know, the guitar tones and the, you know, please God help me. It was like, what the fuck? It was like a horror movie. It was awesome.
Are you looking forward to the new album? Because I think they're all recording again. Or is it for you?
I don't know. Part of me wants to hear a new record, and part of me is just really happy with my memories. So.
Why did your parents move? Because when I hear you talking, then, well, it wasn't especially a good move for you. I mean, smoking weed, drugs.
I mean, it was a great move for me. You know, like that was the beginning of my life and music, really.
Yeah. But did they?
You know, what's funny is that we actually moved to we were living in a pretty run-down neighborhood. We moved to a suburban neighborhood in Fremont, which is like a lower middle-class neighborhood at the time. And but it just had like a bunch of kids who, you know, just weed and beer, and I don't know.
But did your parents know that you were getting into that? Or?
Oh no.
When did they find out?
Probably about a year later.
Oh, yeah.
They probably caught me about a year later. I think they caught me drinking, and then they caught me smoking weed later on.
And
then they caught me doing drugs even after that, and then I was out. They were mad. I remember my dad found, I had a Metallica mirror, like a mirror, and I just silk screened Metallica, Ride the Lightning on it. It sat there, but it had like Coke lines, and you know, I had a straw, and my dad finds the mirror and the straw one day, and he's just like, Robert, what is this? And I was just like, it's just a mirror, Dad. Like, it's got white lick marks and powder, and just.
So when did
I eventually fessed up to it. I was just like, okay, it is. And he's just like, you know, he'd talk to me. He talked to me for a really long time about it. That's the one thing I remember. He didn't get like super mad. He didn't explode. He just talked to me for like an hour and a half at this burger joint. And I was just like, I don't ever want to do drugs again, just so I don't got to listen to this fucking talk again. So.